We are live. I am here with the lovely Loren, and we will be talking about California 34's race here. I'm going to let people are starting to pile in. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all feel free to use the chat feature if you want to try to throw questions out or make comments or whatnot. I will do my best to read them. Sometimes they're hard to read on this phone, but I will figure it out. But before we get started, just a quick overview and reminder, this is the Candidates of Our Dreams series. So we are trying to get the Congress of our dreams for the 120th Congress because we are in an existential battle for our democracy. And so I am interviewing candidates for primaries, for generals, for whatever. And I'm very excited at everyone I've been speaking to because I have great hope for our country when I'm speaking to people that are clearly as in love with it as I am. And so today I have Loren Colin from, again, California 34, and I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a second. But if anyone has, again, any questions, please feel free to write it down below. Otherwise, enjoy. So, Loren, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our lovely audience and for anyone who will listen back later?
I appreciate it, Kate. Thank you for having me. My name is Loren Colin. I am the only independent, nonpartisan progressive running in California 34 to represent Los Angeles. And that includes our downtown core, all of unincorporated East LA, Northeast Los Angeles, like Eagle Rock and Highland Park, the little sliver of Echo Park that I'm in, and areas like Koreatown, Pico Union, and MacArthur Park. I am running to unseat corporate back, APAC back Jimmy Gomez, who at the end of this term will be 9-year in the seat is 9 years, representing the Democratic Party and those special interests whom he takes money from, and not the people of California 34. And our primary, so we have open nonpartisan primaries in California. That means that anyone and everyone, all the Democrats, right now there's 5 main Democrats, there's one Republican, and me, the only independent nonpartisan progressive running. So right now, all 7 of us will be in that June 2nd primary. The top 2 of us go on to the general, and I am excited to come in that top 2, and then on November 3rd to defeat Jimmy Gomez.
Amazing. Jungle primaries, right, is what
Yep.
y'all call it, right? The first time I heard that term, I was like, "What the hell is jungle primary?" We have open primaries, but you can only pick one party here in Virginia, so it's like partially open, but also not. It's very strange, but
We've
yeah.
removed
So.
all party affiliation from our electoral process, and it's brilliant.
Yeah. And that is kind of brilliant because it does sort of make it where even if you do try to gerrymander one way or another, it's actually still pretty difficult to sway the
Yep.
elections. And guys, this is a plug for state-run elections, thanks to our great Constitution. All of the conspiracy theories about how, Trump is gonna steal the elections or has stolen it's doesn't really make any sense really when you go to look at the brass tacks of it. That doesn't mean voter suppression doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that they're not going to try to interfere in all the other ways, but an actual fraud is pretty difficult to do. So rest easy on that point and focus on the other things like making sure people get to the polls and all that sort of stuff. But we will talk about that at the end of this interview about electoral dates and all that kind of thing to make sure everybody's square. So, Loren, why are you running for California 34? Because it's not like any of us couldn't find something better to do than run a political campaign. Because it's not exactly fun. I mean, it can be fun, but it's not, especially in these times. There's
Yeah.
a lot there's a lot of stuff going on. So why are you doing this?
It is certainly inspiring me and changed me in ways I never could have figured out. So it's definitely, I know that I am better for it, and I enjoy meeting the people of California 34 every day and learning from them. Why am I doing this? It's probably something I wanted to do since I was 17, but then I went off and had my whole not real career. I mean, yeah, I don't think we should have political politicians. So I'm going to say a real career, not in politics. And I did actually serve on the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council from 2007 to 2009. And then life happened, the second kid. I'm like, this isn't really the time. So I went back to work full time. And then a couple of years ago, my startup stopped starting and it was time to figure out what's next. And this is just the time in my life to do this. And also, I've been an independent since 1996. since I saw Bill Clinton destroy the social programs and talk about like welfare queens, and like that was the wrong direction for the Democratic Party then. We should have been heading towards FDR then and LBJ then. And the Democratic Party's only been moving farther and farther away. And also in that same year, 1996, was watching Newt Gingrich, then Speaker of the House for 2 years, in his dictatorial role, just bashing immigrants, which was the last immigration law passed was in 1996. Like that, and watching the Democrats not defend immigrants, I'm like, I'm done with this party. They're never going to be for the people. So I've been declined to state ever since then. If someone else had stood up as an independent to run for this office, I'd probably be backing them. So this little tiny selfishness was like, I want to be able to vote for the first time in my life for a true independent progressive. Well, no one else is doing it. It's got to be me. And like I said, what started out with a tiny little bit of selfishness, like, by gosh, I really want to be able to vote for this and break the two-party system,
Right.
it's totally transformed me. This has nothing to do with me. It is all about the people of California 34 getting the representation that we deserve. And also, we are progressive here. My conversation here isn't to convince people to be progressive. My conversation and the decision that the people, the residents and voters will have to make here is, what kind of progressive leadership do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want corporate back, APAC back, backbencher, not ever serious Jimmy Gomez, who doesn't go out around the country and argue our perspectives? Why our progressivism isn't just right for California 34, but it's right for America. And that's why I'm doing this, is to take what we know is right here and make sure the rest of the country gets it, so we do get the majorities and the laws passed that a majority of Americans want.
Amazing. I love it. First of all, this is my first independent that I'm talking to, and as a fellow independent, yeah, I'm so excited. And I like when you started talking about Bill Clinton, I was like, snap. 'Cause it's so funny. So I used to, as most people know, I used to be a right leaning independent. Like I wasn't. I was raised in a conservative household, and uh, that's a whole other topic that this interview is not about me, so we're not going to get into that. But one thing that was always clear to me from the beginning is that Bill Clinton, and I was a kid when Bill Clinton was in office, so I have to also filter this through what I was being told by my elders, as it were. But what's become increasingly clear to me in looking back is like Bill Clinton had one foot in, one foot out as far as like being a Democrat or being a liberal. It was very much the part where the party, a huge chunk of the party, embraced the neoliberal, just love fest. And my checklist that we're about to get into is anti neoliberalism, and it is needed for both parties. And
Yep.
do I agree that on summation, the Democratic Party is less neoliberal than Republicans? Sure. But do I also like think that it's so entrenched in both parties that now that's how we got here? Yes. um, and I do think that independents serve a role, first of all, like you said, in representing the people, because 45% of us, 45% on the latest polling of the United States electorate is independent. So then, like, never having candidates that don't do party anything and are simply like, look, I'm here to represent my district and what they want to see, like, it's frustrating. And that's why so many people just end up swinging back and forth, not really sure which one to get to, usually just punishing the party in power, as they say. So, yeah, I your whole like summation right there is just chef's kiss perfect.
And
I love
there's a theory to power in 2026. I'm not
it.
the only
Mhm.
independent running. I'm
Right.
actually working with a group. We've identified 50 to 60 of us across the political spectrum.
Yes.
And we're working really quickly to get us all together so that the people understand I'm not just a one off. In
Right.
fact, if you elect enough of us to deny both Republicans and Democrats a majority in Congress, imagine waking up on November 4th, 2026, to something like 215 Democrats, 215 Republicans, and 5 true independents from across the political spectrum.
Right.
We immediately get our House of Representatives back.
Right.
That's the vision that I have, along with all the other independents that I know who are running. We are
Yeah.
serious about this.
Right. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I've heard. I've heard all the things like independents are intellectually dishonest or whatever. Like I get that a lot, and I'm like, okay. And I think that first of all, again, the majority of the country identifies as politically independent and also identifies as moderate. Also, when you look at it on an issue basis, like issues basis, and I write about this a lot on my Substack, and people who are interested can go look at it. Independents do lean left as far as like issues are concerned. Democratic or whatever what the Democratic Party is supposed to be. Like their platform is in nominally, but like there's so much nuance to a complex public policy for a country like the United States of America. And you're making federal policy at the congressional level, and you need to be able to talk about things in a data-driven manner. You cannot just go in there with dogma and say like, well, my favorite story about this is when the Big Beautiful Bill was being written and then shoved down our throats. And I obviously hate everything about the Big Beautiful Bill. But one of the things that was raised when we were talking about Medicaid was the state provider tax match and how state provider taxes are inflated for the federal match. And it is a real thing. Like it is really happening. There's data to back it
Yeah.
up. The portions that states are paying has gone down dramatically. Providers end up getting kickbacks for some of it. Like it's just a whole situation. And so the federal portion has had to be increased all the time, which means our tax dollars are having to go towards, who knows what. And it goes directly to the providers. It's not like it's going to patients necessarily. And that's a whole other issue. And I'm the last person to say, let's stop investing in healthcare. I want to invest more in healthcare, but I'm also not stupid. And and the data is very clear that this is a problem. And I literally listened to somebody in like a C-SPAN interview where he was like, it was like supposed to be like right and left, right? And they were talking about the state provider tax issue. Like, and I was like, oh my gosh, let me listen because this is like my thing that I'm like, look, if there's fraud, this is the area. And meanwhile, I'm like, F you to the GOP on basically everything else. And the person on the right talks about this like state provider tax issue. The person on the left is like, well, maybe it is, but it's in service of healthcare. And I wanted to slam my head into the desk. I was like, that was the wrong answer. You can't say, well, fraud's okay if it's for the thing that I like, because that's what MAGA is doing. It's fine that we're dumping hundreds of billions of dollars into ICE to do what they are doing right now, because it's in service to the thing that I like. You need to use your brain a little bit. You need to be able to say, because, like, yes, there's an issue here. We need to figure out how to fix it and make sure it's actually going towards the purpose being healthcare, right? Not necessarily the revenue of anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
I say all this to say, people, that like it is good to have independent voices who are willing to go in there and speak to the dogmas of the parties. I don't necessarily have a problem with dogmas of the parties, as it were, when there is enough collaboration around the data to really get to like effective solutions. Hopefully that all
Yeah.
makes sense. Anyway, this is sorry, caught me on a thing. I never get to talk to independents, so I'm like so.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it, Kate.
Amazing. All right, cool. We are going to go down. This is the part of the interview where I go down the 9 points of the Candidates of Our Dreams checklist, or the Fellowship of the Congressional Ring, if people are into the nerdy part, because there's 9 of them. And if you know Lord of the Rings, then that makes sense to you. If you don't know Lord of the Rings, you're like, what on earth are you talking about? And then I'm going to let Loren take it from there as far as where we spend this. So, number 1, takes $0 in corporate campaign money. Number 2, term limits themselves and advances term limit legislation, especially on Congress. 3, reasserts their power over the Supreme Court. 4, raises wages and reinstates corporate tax marginalization. 5, increases tax marginalization for high net worth individuals. 6, bans stock buybacks. 7, invests in a robust, nimble, and strategic administrative state, my personal favorite. 8, advances universal health care and education. And 9, commits to multilateral, non-interventionist foreign policy. Could not do that soon enough. So, Loren, what do you think of this list? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you have
I
support?
love
Like,
it.
what is it?
I love it. I am with you in principle on all 9 of these things.
Amazing.
And people can go to my campaign website and it's like, I'm not just buttering you up, Kate. It's the truth. Like to actually see, I didn't know what the nine was because I'm not a Lord of the Rings person, but now I know
Mhm.
that's why there's nine.
Right.
No, they're a great, important nine, and they would be transformative to do. To me, that transformation starts with actually taxing the ultra wealthy. And
Mhm.
you're talking about neoliberalism. I have he wouldn't have considered himself an economist because he didn't know what it was. But Adam Smith over here, and just the propaganda that we've been propagandized to, he was about the government not interfering and this invisible hand. No, Adam Smith was clear. The most dangerous thing in the whole wide world to human happiness, which as a philosopher, which is what he was concerned about, was monopolies. And not just monopolies, but when monopolies actually forged with the government to increase their monopolistic power. And that's what we have right now, right? We have this autocracy, oligarchy, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
it's bad. And talking about data, Rand Corporation, not exactly your liberal, progressive, Marxist bastion. I should never put those words together, but we're having fun here. Rand Corporation has shown that since Reaganomics, since that neoliberalism took hold in 1981, the middle and the bottom, which is most of us, have transferred between 50 and $80 trillion to the top. And I say we, it's really theft by the top, but it's we because we keep electing the same people over and over again. Incumbents have a 96% chance of winning their race in a federal race. That's on us, America. But how do we fix it? We fix it by getting rid of by taxing the wealthy's inheritance and capital gains and loans against stock the same way our wages are. And we can't hide it. There's no trusts for our wages. There's no exemptions for our wages, right? The whole idea is every dollar counts the same. There's no difference of a dollar of wage from a dollar of inheritance, from a dollar of rent, from a dollar of capital gains, from a dollar of what you're basically hiding and realizing is a loan against stock. And there could be no more shelters and there can be no more trusts. And again, if you're a billionaire and you hold all your money in stock, that's fine. You could be a paper billionaire, but when you die, that money it goes to your heirs or whomever you've given it to is going to be taxed. And one of the biggest jokes of people are like, you can't tax it twice. I'm like, the billionaire's money that's been in stock was never taxed because it was in stock that grew and in a trust and in a shelter that never got taxed. So Americans again believe this propaganda. Oh, I'm just like one morning away from being a billionaire. No,
Right.
you're not.
Yeah.
So
You will never be them, actually.
no. Right? So what we have to do, it starts with that. And you have actually a few in a row that I actually think, well, you have your nine separated. They kind of all, in my mind, go together. It's
Mhm.
not just taxing every dollar of wealth of individuals the same. It's actually something else that you have here, which is tax corporate net income on the exact same scale as individuals. You want corporate personhood? Fine. Corporate personhood, your taxes are the exact same, right?
Yes.
And so that's easy. And then I love what you have about stock buybacks.
Mhm.
I have I have two options on the table. Either they just go back to being completely illegal, which I'm fine with, or the value of of your stock buyback is taxed at 100%. You
Mm.
do $1 billion stock buyback, you pay $1 billion on top of it. I'm fine with either of those.
Right.
Going even further than you're like, if you're getting federal money, no, it
Right.
is a complete market distortion. It keeps the wealthy class uh, from actually having to make any value. They
Right.
just take stock off the table and it looks like they've added value. Again, it's just pure theft. So
Right.
those three of your nine kind of all come together for me. Taking what Adam Smith said, it's not just a matter of taxing the wealthy to pay their fair share, but it's making them pay more than their fair share. And that is patriotic and that is American and that is the right thing to do. And again, you don't hear Democrats or Republicans saying it, but this independent says it and ready to make it happen in Congress.
Amazing. Yeah, I separate them for purposes of being able to digest the way that you would attack those tax policies separately. But yeah, no, the reason that they are together is because I'm like, but I need this to all happen actually at the same time. That'd be great. Yeah, stock buybacks is something that I could rage about for years. The first time I learned about them, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I really thought someone was joking. I was like, that sounds very illegal. And
It used
they
to
were like,
be.
"Well, it used to be." I was like, "So," and then it was like Reagan. I was like, "Ah, yes, Reagan." Everything
Yeah.
everything goes back to Reagan. Oh, man. There's so many podcasts I listen to, like historical ones especially, where it's like something come about Reagan. I'm like, "Okay, Reagan." Like, every time it goes back to this man. Um, dark days for our country. Yeah, I love your I've never thought of the whole, like, tax the stock buyback at 100%. It's like, "That's cool. You wanna go play games? That's great. Just put some money in the coffer. Thanks so much for your
Yep.
time."
Yep.
Love that for you. And, yeah, and then also, I do love when they smash when the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, for people who aren't, aware, in 2017, smashed the corporate tax marginalization to just a single rate, raising taxes for a lot of small businesses, for those who don't realize, like, because they sandwiched it. So there was some like much lower tax rates for smaller businesses, and those got jacked up, and then the billionaires ones got jacked all the way down, and it's just anyway. Um, but yeah, it's like, how does that square with Citizens United? So you wanna be a person? Cool. People pay, the top line's like 37%. You right now, you're paying 21.
Yep.
And not really even. The effective tax rate of most large corporations is like 3%, which is disgusting, but it's a whole other issue. So yeah, I agree, as you and I were talking about how I'm a professional fundraiser. Widening the revenue base is like the first thing you look for, right? What is the money that we're leaving on the table? What is the money that we can bring in right now? Because we really can't talk about programs if we don't have revenue, because that's how the Republicans end up skewering liberals and progressives and whatever, is saying like, look, the budget's unbalanced and whatever. And the propaganda is so real. Like, the budget's really unbalanced because we keep not taxing people enough. Like, it becomes unbalanced after tax cuts. Like, the data is so clear on that. Like, we have 45 freaking years
Yep.
of information telling us that. So anyone who tries to tell you that tax cuts are like the read my lips, no new taxes thing is like what leads to it has always led to more debt. Always. Um, 'Cause that's just not how any of this works. Awesome. Lauren, what else do you want to talk about from
Yeah.
this?
I'll go back to what you were talking about earlier with your fraud example is universal healthcare, which
Mhm.
I actually, gentleman in his 30s, Latino gentleman in his 30s, when I was canvassing, he's like, "Don't call it universal healthcare because it sounds like it's free. I'm still paying. It's taxpayer-funded public healthcare that
Mhm.
covers every single American. And you want to get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse? Get rid of private health insurance,
Yes.
right? That so my model, like Medicare for all is okay, but again, it would be shortchanging us. What we really should do is copy the best of the best, and the best of the best is German's Bismarck model, which Japan also copied, which an employee pays 8% of their wages, and the employer pays 8% of their wages. That is immensely less than what
Mhm.
you pay as a percentage of your income right now for premiums, co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance. It's co-insurance, right?
Right.
And if you're paying, say, $7,000 a year just for your side, your employer is probably paying 14, right? So it's actually a $21,000 policy, and it hurts your employee. It hurts business. It hurts small and medium-sized businesses. When we get to taxpayer public funded healthcare that covers every American from cradle to grave, and we copy Japan and Germany, they spend one third less per person than we do. By the way, what we spend gets the worst results of the rich world. They spend one third less and get the absolute best results. And
Right.
most of the care is still given through private practices,
Right.
right? It's not some people are like it's socialism, it's communism. No, this the government makes sure that when it comes to insurance, the larger the pool you have, the more cost effective it is. There's no larger pool than 336 million Americans contributing.
Right.
It's just there's no way. And again, it's proven. Like you keep talking about data, but in America we have American exceptionalism. It has to be America, so we'll
Mhm.
call it Americare.
Love it. It's like, I'll call it whatever will help you sleep at night, if that's what you need.
Absolutely right.
Like,
Uh,
I love that.
and it goes to just that thought of we talk about like value, what we hold valuable. And you said earlier about, what most Americans agree on. And actually, even coming back to, I saw it on your Substack, the graph of how most independents actually slide slightly to the progressive side. And in my research, as I've been finding and working with a guy who's totally on the other side of the political spectrum from me, but again, we're working together because we believe in this thing of independence. But as I was doing that research, I have the anecdata of calling 145 people and researching 145 candidates to see the same thing, that almost 2 to 1 in this independent sphere, there are definitely people who are running who lean more progressive. But it's not just more progressive, because even in some of the more right spaces, they still agree that Citizens United is a horrible deal for all Americans. There's even some who understand that, when people talk about, the right boogeyman of voter fraud, and we all need voter IDs. When you talk at a real serious level with an independent who, like you said, we're not the ones who are intellectually dishonest.
Mm,
We're the ones who actually hold our own feet to the fire of our beliefs and
yes.
have core tenets that
Yeah.
we're not willing to give up. So if you say something like, we should have a national voter ID, a national one, not a state one,
Right.
that every citizen gets, that is always active the second you're 18 and is valid in every single election to make it easy and affirmative and automatic to vote, that's where you see things across an independent, what would be a bigger political spectrum, but the
Mhm.
independents all come together to agree, like, God, this is pro-American.
Right.
This is patriotic. So there's things like that that just transcend, like, how do we get to taxing the wealthy? Well, we got to get money out of politics.
Right.
Independents see that all together. I know it's your number one thing on your list, and it's a great one to have.
Yes.
Um, but that's also how we get to universal or taxpayer funded public health care that
Right.
covers every single American. Again,
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing, is politicians love to tell you like this one thing is all connected. It
Exactly.
all goes together. You can't say it's
That's
just
right.
this one thing. So we don't
Exactly.
we don't do that here.
Yeah, no, I like, oh my gosh, yes, praise. Yeah, again, the reason that I made this whole list is I was like, well, we need all of this. Like it all, and I did try to list it in order of priority. Like you said, if money's in politics, you can't get to the other. You just can't. Like, when United Healthcare is dumping millions of dollars into lobbyists or whatever, how the hell are you gonna get to healthcare and education? You're not. Like, you'll never go there. And so that's why, like, the top 3 are, like, the electoral reforms, the campaign finance reforms, the Supreme Court reform. Like, I think people sleep on the Supreme Court so much. I'm like, because all the things we're talking about, like Citizens United, whatever, that is the result of our horrific majority on the Supreme Court. I mean, praise God, we have, as far as I'm concerned, the future Chief Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson on the court right now, and I cannot wait for a president that will make her the new Chief Justice. I'm putting it out into the ether at this moment. Um, but in the meantime, we have 6 crazy people
Yeah.
running that court, and they will, when we talk about you, I think before we went live, you talked about FDR and, the Democratic Party kind of like eschewing FDR in favor of Clinton. And like, that was FDR's first Achilles heel, actually. When you go back and look at the historicity of the New Deal, his initial barriers were not from the Congress so much. In fact, he was so popular that he got even the Congress he inherited, which wasn't that great for him, but because he didn't have the super majorities yet, but he had a majority, and even the Congress that he got was fairly okay with his policies. They weren't like super in love with them, but they could deal with them. The Supreme Court were the ones who knocked down so many of his policies until he threatened them with court packing. And then all of a sudden they were like, well, he threatened them with court packing the same year that he got the supermajority in Congress. And they were suddenly like, oh, maybe we're like actually okay with it. Never mind. Like, we're good. Don't look over here. No reforms over here. Um, and so they managed to escape the reform, because FDR got what he wanted. But I think that that's a thing. But anyway, my whole point
Well,
is that,
I want to
oh,
riff
go ahead.
off.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I am on day one. It is time to expand the Supreme Court to 13 to match the number of regional districts plus the DC district.
Yes.
It's just
Mhm.
automatic. It's just
Right.
like how you cannot defend the system,
Right.
right? again, you can defend it if you're powerful and it keeps you in power.
Yeah.
Cool. But there's 336 million of us for whom it does not work. And step number one, again, it's not from a partisan perspective. It just needs to be increased to 13. From a, again, moving away from partisanship and just like thinking about America and Americans, it is time for term limits on that court. 18 years max.
Right.
You serve 18 years, you did a service to your country. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not the high judge.
Right.
You're certainly not delivering justice.
Right.
If you confuse law and justice, like you are on the wrong track of understanding how we live as human beings.
Yes.
Right. So you're not up there dropping justice on America. You're trying to do a semi-okay job of giving us a view of what you think the Constitution stands for.
Right.
Which, by the way, originalism. If you were James Madison, who wrote, I have it somewhere up there, the idea of originalism is counter to the founder's idea. The reason the Constitution is a framework,
yes,
was because he didn't even know. James Madison said, I don't even know what the first Congress is going to do. So then when you have these structures that are faux intellectualism, really what it is like you said, those six people, justices, it's a hard word to use to describe them, already know the outcome of the case before it comes
yes.
to their desk. So expand it to 13, term limit of 18 years for every justice. And it doesn't, if you go from justice to the head justice, still doesn't matter. You get 18 years on the court. That's it. Or chief justice, sorry. And then the other thing is a real code of ethics. And if you violate that code of ethics, it is just straight down, you will be impeached.
Yeah, Clarence.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know. We all know.
We all know.
Mostly Clarence, but also Sam. Yeah. No, I listened to a podcast called Strict Scrutiny. If you guys don't know, like, you need to listen to that. It's the best podcast about the Supreme Court ever. And they call originalism fan fiction, and it cracks me up. I'm like, because that's exactly what it is. It's like, that's cool stuff, but no one said that. Like that, like, it's literally not a thing. And it's funny because their originalism is very selective. Like, they're originalists when it's like you said, the foregone conclusion that they had in their mind for the case. And then the minute you're like, well, originalism says that the Congress should be able to strip your jurisdiction, all of a sudden, those justices, like, whenever you bring up jurisdiction stripping to that Supreme Court, they freak out. Clarence and Sam in particular go like, that's not a thing. Congress can't do that. I'm like, it's literally in Article 3. My guy, like, literally,
I can see the
original body, not even the Bill of Rights, in the thing.
Yeah, I can see a world where we actually get rid of all of the lower courts and tell the Supreme Court.
Oh, really? How would you do that?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Well, because that's what the Constitution says. The Constitution only says that you have to have the Supreme Court. All of the other jurisdictional courts below it are a fiction of Congress that they made to create the avenues for cases to be discussed. But again, if you want to threaten the Supreme Court and say you got to get in line, that's what's happening right now, right? We know that there are Reagan and Trump and Bush 1 and Bush 2 conservatives who are finding what clearly is protections of the Constitution, whether it's from the 10th Amendment perspective of the rights that belong to states and to the people, and they find for the states and the people. Yeah. And then this rogue Supreme Court says, nah, we're going to use our secret docket to just rule how we want. Like, no, then let's just, we can get rid of the whole system to rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point. Is it like, don't have federal judicial courts? No, but again, the idea that we can't do whatever we want is a ludicrous idea.
Yeah.
This is one of my critiques of us as American citizens, is sometimes I think we lack vision and imagination.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Have a vision and imagination. There's nothing, the Constitution is a rather quick read.
Right.
And to your point, it doesn't say that much as far as what you have to do. You do have to do those few things. Right. But after that, all of the federal government and how it's created. In fact, one of the ones on your list is actually talk about nerding out your idea of like what the regulatory state looks like. That's on my platform.
Right.
I don't necessarily care that the government isn't funding primary scientific research, right? that's not okay. You again, the people can choose it, and you can say our budget's a moral document, but the government absolutely has a duty to have a regulatory and safety body that says, "Hey, these are the minimum requirements to keep Americans safe from poisons, so they can drink their water, so they can
Yeah.
go to get to work without being crushed." And on the flip side, like you said, the market can help drive it. It should be up to the corporations to meet the requirements. And if they don't meet the requirements, and this also includes like pollution, right? Then we'll tax you and we'll do it for you.
Right.
Here's the requirements.
Yeah.
Meet these standards. And also things like the Chevron doctrine that the Supreme Court overruled, that actually doesn't upset me. The idea that Congress kept giving away its power to these executive branches that were supposed to be semi-autonomous, like again,
Mhm.
that's not in the Constitution.
Right.
What I can envision and totally support is you can still have an EPA, and the EPA every year can say, Congress, these are the 100 regulations we think you need to pass. And they send them to Congress, and then Congress can say up or down, yes, right? Then the Supreme Court can't do anything, right?
Right.
Because so there's things like that, like we've bent the Constitution beyond. Again, it's a framework, so you can bend it. But when
Right.
someone says, hey, it clearly states that if something's in the executive, that the executive gets to decide, it's kind of hard to argue against, right?
Right.
So, but there are ways. Ultimately, Congress has given up and abdicated all its power. I
Yeah.
blame both parties equally.
Right.
It has been a function since 1994 of Democrats and Republicans, starting with Newt Gingrich, to
Right.
destroy the purpose of the House, and the people, we the people, have not demanded our house back. And again,
Right.
my claim or my hypothesis is the only way to get it back is to elect enough independents to deny both parties, and that's the start.
Yeah. No, I think that that whole, like, Congress doesn't do it and doesn't do a job anymore is totally valid. It's very so, like, I'm a public like, I'm a private administrator, but my training is in public administration, and which has a lot of, like, in the nonprofit world, has a lot of parallels. So without getting into the weeds of that, but I do believe in a robust administrative and regulatory state that is, like, driven by the people, as you said. And I do, it is a dance between, like, the expertise and the wonks and the wills of the people, right? But but I do agree with you that the pendulum has swung way too much in, like, the executive branch has had to basically take the entirety of the reins, because what would basically be your board of directors, which is Congress, has just kind of gone, like, whatever. So if anyone's familiar with the nonprofit framework, you have, like, management, and then you have governance, and the governance is, like, your board, and the management's your staff, and, like, that's how that works. And in our federal government, Congress is the board, and the administrative state is the staff, right? Like, they're the ones who are actually doing the work. And you have that balance because you want to have, like, oversight and whatnot. And then you also, but then there's people who are, like, really good at, like, environmental policy, like you were just talking about, like, if we talk about the EPA. They're actual scientists and whatever who can tell you things. An elected official is not a scientist. So, like, they don't know anything about that, but they can work, and hand holding. And that's what the hearings are supposed to be. When you see all these boring meetings on C-SPAN and whatever, that's what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this collaboration of the science and the research and the expertise and whatever coming to the electeds, the will of the people, and saying, look, here's all the information that we've got for you. Here's our, like you said, here's our recommendations. Let's make a decision. And that's what they do for budgeting and, like, all that kind of thing. But you're right. It's, like, turned into Congress kind of doing it as, like, a kind of like a dog and pony show, and not really spending a whole lot of time governing, because usually they're too busy, like, fundraising and to get elected again. Like you said, the career politician is also part of the issue here. So yeah, like, I see that, and I do think that our republic is a tension between the two. But to your point of, like, if we had a body of electeds who would live in that tension, right? Instead of just going for, like, one part in majority rules, one party has the whole thing, and then for 4 years or 2 years or whatever, we're subject to all that, for as long as they have us, have us captive, then that's what we're doing. And that's, like, it's not a great way to govern, especially a country of 370 million people. Like, we can't move forward progress and get great healthcare or whatever when we're running like that. So that all makes a whole lot of sense. I have taken up a lot of your time, and so I want to make sure that I'm being respectful of all of that. But Lauren, I want to first of all, is there anything for beyond the candidates of our dreams, which I can tell that you're like really passionate, and I love that you understand the interconnectedness of this. I'm like, it's giving my soul life to hear you say that. Um, what about California 30? Are there any like, I hate to use the word special interest because in the political speak that's like a loaded term, but like I should say district specific interests. Like if you're like, okay, I'm elected tomorrow, California 34, this is one of the first things that I'm going to go do for you. As far as like what y'all need from our federal government.
Yeah. Number one is, and I hear it from everyone. I mean, everyone in California 34 has a top three. The top five from everyone is healthcare, homelessness, and housing. So within a top five, I'm always going to hear those three.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about healthcare. So really, housing is not just a California, not just a Los Angeles and California issue. I went to Oxford, Mississippi for a Purple Party to meet people who don't think exactly like me. And I learned by going there that they also have a housing crisis in Mississippi. What drives it here in Los Angeles is when red lighting became illegal and the banker couldn't be like, oh, you're not going to get this loan because you're not white.
Mm-hmm.
Then they came up with single family home zones. And basically, Los Angeles, which historically was a pretty racist place, but we've done better over the years. And I'm really proud of the work we do. And there's an honesty to how far we still have to go. But part of that is the recognition of why we have single family home zones. 73% of the city's residential area is zoned exclusively for single family homes. We need 450,000 housing units just in the next, it was 5 years a year ago. So now in the next 4 years, we're building about 5,000, right? That's not close to 500,000.
Right.
So I am going to Congress to be the number one representative when it comes to housing and to use the carrot and the stick of the federal government. One thing we have to do is just fully fund Section 8. There's a list of everybody that the government knows who already qualifies for Section 8, but it's
Right.
only partially funded. Number one, just fully fund Section 8.
Right.
Number two, when it comes to building more housing, is hey, metropolitans and states, you want money because you all want money. You want money for infrastructure. You want money to hire more people in your planning departments. You want money to improve the processes and the speed of your permitting. You're going to get lots of money in exchange for outlawing single family home zones everywhere and making them all multifamily. And this is a liberty thing also. When people hear multifamily, they're like, I literally had like 80-year-old people from Brentwood to be like, you want me to tear down my house and build a skyscraper? I'm like, no, I want you to build whatever you want. On a multifamily home zone lot, you can still build a single family home.
Right.
But you can also, we have, I'm sure you all are like McMansions in Los Angeles on a 7,500 square foot lot. You can build from end to end 4,000 square feet up to 42 feet high, one home. But you can't take that same home and just cut it into 4 boxes
Right.
over the same footprint. That's obscene. And then
Right.
people are like, we don't want to change the character of our neighborhoods. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're saying
Right.
because I really know what you're saying.
Right.
A neighborhood is not made by the buildings. It is made by the people. And so it's just housing is so important and I would do that. And the other thing is that homelessness idea is the federal government has completely turned its back from being part of the homeless response.
Yeah.
And it's time for the federal government to step up. And I am running to make sure that the federal government starts to become a part of the homelessness solution. It's not just an LA problem. I mean, California 34 represents half of Skid Row. California 37 is the other half of Skid Row. Homelessness is everywhere in this district. And when people talk about safety and crime is actually the lowest it's been since we recorded statistics on crime. In this year alone, or 2025, more people died in car accidents than murders in Los Angeles. There's a lot to unpack there.
Right.
But I understand, and again, I'm never going to tell a constituent, oh, you're crazy, you're safer than you've ever been. You got to meet them where they're at.
Right.
They don't feel safe because they see homelessness and equate it to crime and not being safe in public.
Right.
So let's fix that last stumbling block, which is the homelessness, and services are proven to not work. I am very much believe that people know how to spend their own money. We're spending
Mhm.
almost $45,000 a year per homeless person in just the city of LA for the 45,000 homeless in LA. If we gave them all $45,000,
Right.
most of them, say just half of them,
Mhm.
got their own housing, bought their own food, got off the streets on their own, and still need help like with mental health care and health care, like we'll still help
Right.
all that. Say we just solved half the problem. Well, we just solved half the problem spending the same amount of money.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about with imagination and vision. And that's what we need in America. And that's what I'm bringing to Congress when the people of California 34 sent me there
I
to
love
deal with
that.
their issues.
Yeah, no, first of all, I love so much of what you're saying. It's funny because I'm again in nonprofit management, and so I deal with the whole needs-based services thing all of the time, and it's sort of the reality of where we are right now. But I do dream of a day like when I say universalism, I'm really just looking towards the can we just get away from all of that, please? Where it's like, if we're providing a service, we're providing a service, there's plenty of money. We are in the one country where it's like, we cannot make the excuse that there's not enough cash because that ain't true. So it's got to be something else. It is a forced scarcity, like a
Yep.
manufactured scarcity. And yeah, the single family zones, it drives me absolutely batty because, like you said, it's like, if there's one thing independents are for, it's like, you can do whatever you want, but I'm really tired of regulations where it's like, I'm getting to do whatever I want except for poor people, like, and
Yeah.
people of color. Like, let's just be so for real, like, what it really is, and yeah, independents can sniff that out pretty fast, and I do think Democrats are pretty good at that too, depending on, who we're talking to, it's but corporations don't want you to sniff that, that's really, like, that's one of the biggest issues, um and yeah, anyway, could go on and on and on about all of that, but yeah, housing is obviously it's a nationwide problem. And what's crazy about the whole single family thing is like our population is getting older, not younger, and we're having less children. And so it is crazy that we are just addicted to, and I live in a single family house. Okay. I'm not like against single family homes, but like we're addicted to this model. And it's like a lot of people are just, they don't need that.
Yep.
We don't, it can be beautiful. We don't have to put up, like, people have this like weird idea of what that looks like. It's like it doesn't have to look like it was built in the 70s. Like it can, if you're looking for that, sorry, my phone's saying things. If you're looking for like, beauty and character, like the character of the thing, like we can still do that. Like there's architecture experts everywhere. Like just pick one and go with it. But yeah. So anyway, I have loved this conversation so much. I feel like we could go on for a really long time. Um, Lauren, this is about promoting you, especially because you guys have the jungle primary situation, and it means like the primary is what matters. Like that's where obviously the general is what matters too, but like that's really where opponents get matched up. And so, if you want to end with, first of all, where can we find you? How can we support your campaign, volunteers and donations, whatever it is that you're doing right now? And also the dates as they stand right now, as most people, if you're just joining us, you didn't catch us at the beginning, Prop 50 is about to hit the Supreme Court, has already been pushed to the Supreme Court. It's somewhere, it's like it's almost to the finish line of being fine. And hopefully we're just done talking about it after that because it's been a long road for y'all. But go ahead and give the dates, the electoral dates, voter registration deadlines as much as you can. And I will also put that in the links in the write up for Substack when I publish it. But based on what we know now, understanding that later, it might be different.
Yeah. Well, so the good news about California 34 is Prop 50 didn't change at all. It's been 34 was so gerrymandered, we didn't change the street.
A good thing.
Surrounded just by other areas of blue that did get gerrymandered, but
Gotcha.
34, we didn't change the street.
Okay.
No matter what, our election in California will be on June 2nd.
Okay.
So as the primary date. And yes, that is the absolute focus right now. You can reach me anyone everywhere with a simple handle of Loren Colin for Congress. LorenColin for Congress. My website is lorencolinforcongress.com. Type into Google. I'm really excited that pretty much all of my different platforms
Mhm.
show up, but I love if people follow me on, Instagram, TikTok. I think it finally came back on this morning. Um,
Yeah.
Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube. I'm everywhere but on X. I just can't support that man.
I don't blame you.
So I'm on all those. So whatever your favorite platform is, please come out. Just even a follow is a great way to support and to like and post my content as it resonates with you. And then as far as like what you could do specifically for the campaign, yes, volunteer. And you don't have to be in California 34 to volunteer. Digital volunteering is a big thing here in the 2020s. It'll be huge in 2026. So
Mhm.
people can help me send texts, emails, lots of ways you can volunteer. Donations, yeah, there's just no path. There's no, and obviously, this is a world, like you said, you live in fundraising.
Mhm.
There's no fundraising paths for independence. So even my primary opponents who are Democrats still have pathways through Democratic strongholds that they can go and get money. We're building that, and I'm be proud to help build that for independence. But right now, the way to help build that is if you help donate to my campaign. Anything, $5, $10, $25, whatever you can give matters. And the easiest way to do that is to go to lorencolinforcongress.com. There's a big donate button at top. It works both on the mobile and on your desktop. And so, yeah, go there to donate. Like I said, volunteer. You can even just sign up for updates if you're interested in learning more.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I do want to make a special plug for independents who are listening right now, because I know based on the data, I know a lot of you are independent. The money thing is the biggest issue. The DNCs, the RNCs, the DCCCs, the DSCCs, the R whatever theirs are, I wouldn't care. Like this is they have these war chests and these fundraising machines that are for their candidates. And we're always whining as a citizenry that we want the independent candidates or whatever. We need a third party and like all the stuff that we say. But if you don't donate to that, then it's never going to happen. Like it's just the reality of the situation. And so if we want grassroots has to walk with both their feet and their dollars and their votes. So it's got to be all of those things. Um it's not to guilt anybody, it's just to say, like, that's just the reality. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me this evening. You definitely sound like a candidate of our dreams. I am very excited to watch how June 3rd plays out for y'all. And I'm sure we'll talk again as things progress. But good luck with the campaign. Everybody, please go support Lauren and sign up for volunteering and donate and all this kind of thing. And we're gonna take back our Congress. Yes, we are.
That's the goal, Kate. Thank you so much. This was
Of course.
amazing. I appreciate the platform. I would love to come back anytime you'll have me. And yes, the 9 items you have listed, look forward to getting our government back and getting our Congress back and taking back our country. Very excited. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.